Hello, I'm Tim, and if you're wondering why today I'm looking like a particularly smart and well-groomed young man, it is because my mother has expressed concern that I might not be making a good enough impression with my generally scruffy and unironed attire. I think unfortunately, as much as I enjoy my mother's blindness to my multitude of faults, on this one, unfortunately, I'll probably quickly revert to being scruffy, causing no end of distress and disappointment. But to move on, the video I'd like to show you today, just to give you a little bit of an idea about working on a boat really. But before I start, I'd like to apologise a little bit for the fuzzy filming. Well, I'd like to completely apologise for the fuzzy filming due to the fact that the whole filming business, it remains a bit of a learning curve, and I didn't check the focus, so apologies, but hopefully you'll enjoy the video. Hello, I'm Tim, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about the issues that come with working in small spaces. The task that I have at hand is, if you look down the side of the boat, you can see there's a long rail running around it, which is very important for keeping people safe when you're actually out at sea. Now, over time and use, the fittings that hold it in place, they loosen, and eventually water starts to come in, and that's what's happened. That's what's happened here. So, to resolve this problem, what I need to do is undo the bolts which are underneath. As you can see here, they're bolted through the deck, and there's a bolt underneath that holds them in place. So, today's task is accessing these. Every other bolt, all the way along to the front and down the other side, I can reach. Currently, I've dug and delved and I've been able to access all of them, apart from this one and its opposite on the other side of the boat. Now, I'm going to take you inside and we'll have a little look at why this is an issue. Now, when you live in a small space, every time you want to do a job, you actually have to move things into another part of your living space, do the work, and then move everything back, which adds an awful lot of time to every task that you have to do. So today, to reach, let's see if I can show you where, you can see where the rail comes down that I was just showing you. Between me and the rail are currently a big propeller, sponges, and several layers of wood, all screwed in place, which means that I can't repair, and also I can't reach any of the leaks. Now this is quite interesting. I've taken the back off, loosened a few screws, and what I've discovered is it's mainly held in place. Two hooked pieces of metal, you can see from there, and they basically just slot into this hole here, and then a couple of screws have been popped in just to hold it in place, and the same on this side. So what I now have is, this is the angular seat rest. As I move this back, little bit of protection where the diesel heater airflow piping runs through, which makes sense. And now I shall be removing the middle panel, hopefully, which will allow me to get to the bolt. Now, one of the issues that I've had with the screws that have come out the back of the boat is their imperial measurements. Now, I'm going to show you a tool that you use for checking nuts and bolts and things of that nature, but these are over 20 years old. They are imperial rather than metric, so it's actually a little bit of a nuisance replacing the nuts. So rather than replacing perfectly good nuts and bolts, I'm basically going to bag them and put them on one side until I put everything back together again. Right, tools needed for today's job. Drill driver is what it is, does what it says. This is quite an interesting and useful tool lent to me by my friend Andy. It allows me to work out what size nuts and bolts I'm using, which is why I knew they're Imperial and why I'm going to have to keep a real eye on bits and pieces that I'm removing, because it's a little bit harder getting Imperial nuts and bolts, and I'd rather reuse perfectly good pieces of equipment rather than replacing it unnecessarily. Spanners, obviously a few different sizes, and again fortunately I have some old Imperial spanners around the place. Torch, obvious reasons, poking around in small dark places, you need to see what you're doing. And a vacuum cleaner. Cleaning up as you go along and picking up dirt and dust as you go along makes a lot of sense. And as my granddad told me, the sign of a good craftsman is you can't tell that they've been there when they're done. When I've started to do the railings, the fiddly jobs this particular fiddly job will already be done, and it means I can just go all the way around and start to undo the rest of the bolts, pop it off quite easily and sort the fixings out as I need to. If you've enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, share. Thank you, look forward to seeing you again.